When Molly turned up today, she had basically a grown out set of highlights. Very old school, you know, it was probably down to here, I'd say, her root. And you could see the harsh line where the highlights had been put in. It's pretty, but it's a bit dated now. It's getting a bit boring. Everyone does highlights. So we wanted to sort of change it up and make it a little bit more modern, a bit more fresh. So to start with, to get rid of that line, we went in with a root smudge. So I used the 7.2 with colour transformer, and I did add a tiny bit of 6.1 in as well, just to sort of get that depth. You don't want to, when you do a root smudge, risk any warmth, especially around the back where the hair is naturally darker around the front than around the front. If I was to do 7.2 at the back and the front, it would then lift too much and you get that warm glow on the root. So just by adding a bit of 6.1 just completely eliminates that. So in terms of the blonde, I've done a little face frame. Obviously she had quite blonde hair already, but we've just added in a few more foils in just to brighten that up. I've also used some of the root colour, dragged that down in a few areas just to break up some of the old colour. I'll just give you a spin round. And then just, yeah, smudged in a couple of more balayage pieces just to brighten up the old colour. Yeah.
What we're going to do here is we kind of wanted to base this vibe around, you know, a little bit red carpet sort of glamour. So, you know, for me it was kind of a chance to just showcase a little bit of styling. Already here we prepped the hair with the strong mousse, so we put some mousse into it, which gives it this beautiful shine, lovely movement and texture, so I can really kind of tease the hair and pull it around and get that kind of sexy volume just by kind of manipulating the hair with my hands, you know. And I think that's really important, is to make sure that the layering of the product is in the hair, which then gives you much more freedom to be able to redirect it and kind of play with it, especially when you're shooting and doing more editorial sort of styling. You know, you want to create these unusual shapes. You know, you might want to tighten this up behind the ear and drag that back and create a bit more of a sort of unusual shape. But if the hair's not prepped properly, it just drops out all the time, so you kind of lose all of that texture. So what I want to do is, obviously here I did a bit of a blow dry, and then I just used a tong just to kind of break into some areas to give it that cool girl kind of vibe. I want to do something a little bit more classic and quite simple, but at the same time, you know, we're all about doing simple and smart techniques, you know, nothing too overcomplicated. So I want to do like a graphic ponytail with a little bit of a kind of twist and a knot in the top, with two kind of dropped out pieces in the front, which if you look on the red carpet, Dua Lipa's done this quite a bit. You know, there's quite a few of the girls with longer hair that do quite like these graphic kind of shapes. So I thought I'd showcase that for you. So let's have a look. So first of all, you know, you kind of need to choose your parting. So I'll just try this, you're quite tall. You know, whether you want to sort of go middle or if you want to go slightly off, you know, it's up to you. Just look back for me. That's it. So I'm going to go sort of nearer the middle. It doesn't have to be exact, but, you know, we get more of a kind of central vibe through there. So these are the kind of pieces that we need to sort of isolate first, and always use your mirror when you're trying to find that central point. So, you know, keep working that until you're kind of happy with where that's going to sit. So I feel like that's a pretty good place. So in order to kind of just secure that as I'm working the ponytail in, flexible hairspray is kind of like your best friend here. So, you know, put that, when you're happy with the parting, just put a little bit of spray into there just to kind of set it off, you know, give it that little bit of security that you need. Cover clips are always great as well, so just using a couple of cover clips in that front will just help to kind of keep that parting where it needs to be. So we'll put those in there. Okay, so that's just going to lock that parting in. You know, ideally we'd probably use a little bit more heat to kind of blow dry it in, but at the same time, because you guys can't hear me when I do that, I'm trying to not use any heat this time. So then what we need to do, I'm just going to turn her around to the side, this way. Okay, we just need to separate the amount of hair that we kind of want to drop out of the ponytail, okay? So, you know, you can put another cover clip in there just to secure it, because it's quite important that the hair is out of the way and secure. So it's the same when cutting hair, you know, you want to kind of make things easy for yourself. Now, again, here you have freedom to kind of say, oh, I want it to be slightly asymmetric, I want it to sit exactly the same. You know, it's up to you to kind of work out what you want to do, but you just want to clip it out the way so that we've isolated it. Just pop your head down for me. Okay, so that leaves us with all of this hair here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give it a good spray of flexible hairspray. Now remember, go quite close to the root for this, because we kind of want it to feel, you know, quite strong, not, you know, wet, but almost have that kind of wet look kind of vibe. So, you know, flexible hairspray really is your bestie in this instance. So load it up. Remember, flexible hairspray just brushes out super easy as well. So, you know, you can't really overdo it. And now what I'm going to do, normally I would have an assistant when I'm doing ponytails, so I use like some elastic and then we tie it off. But for this, if you're at home doing it yourself or in the salon, these are super handy because they're really easy just to kind of hold, grab and kind of wrap and then pin it in. So actually that's what I'm going to be using. So first of all, I'm just going to brush the hair into place. So, you can really see these colours as well. I'll turn around in a sec. So I'm just using this kind of boar bristle teasing brush, which is really nice just to give you a kind of nice glaze on the hair. Now the key here is the position. You see this beautiful colour, this is so nice. The position of the pony is really important. So if you look at the jaw of Molly and then you look at the ponytail, that's kind of where you want to be, okay? What you'll find is if you drop this down too low here, can you notice how the shape just doesn't, it's just not quite as beautiful, do you know what I mean? So everything, it's the same with cutting hair, everything's about angles and lines. So we are going to pull the hair up more. Okay, so can you see that? That's where we want to be, this angle with the jaw, so everything looks kind of elevated and lifted. So we need to just comb that all the way through on both sides, give it a good brush, get it nice and tight. I'll have another bit of hairspray, please. Okay, so now another tip is when you're doing this, just pop it back for me. That's it. So if the head's back, the ponytail is going to sit much tighter, okay? So it's a key thing when you're putting a ponytail in. Just try and keep the head back all the time. And keep combing the hair. A bit of spray on there for me, Shane. That's it. And then here. Right in our ear. Okay. All right, just keep it back a little bit. Just give me a little spritz all the way around the edges. Okay, so then again, just taking that brush, getting my hand into position, starting to kind of plan where I'm going to secure it so I can see it from each angle. Let's head back a bit more, that's it. A little bit more spray under there, Shane. That's it. Now, with these type of techniques as well, actually, a little bit more there. With these type of techniques, you know, you can obviously really get creative with them and start, you know, playing with different textures, different heights, different sort of finishes. Sometimes it's quite nice to have, you know, a few little breaks in there so it's not sort of too perfect. So sometimes like that whole perfect imperfections is quite a nice way to go with these type of things. Right, so head back one more time and then we'll secure it. Let me just have a little final spritz. Okay, so one more little glaze over and then we're ready to secure it. Head back again. Okay. Right, Shane, pass me that little hook. Right, there we go. Okay, so I'm trying to get it quite central. Can you see that the angle now? It's quite a, you know, a high pony, which is much cooler because the actual, just lift the ponytail hair for me. Shane. That's it. So I'm just going to run this round. Press it against the scalp to keep it nice and secure. And then bring it right the way around and pin it into the other side. Okay. Might just turn for me. Okay, so that's pretty central, which is good. Already it looks quite cool. Again, so it's just trying to get that security. Now it is much easier if you have someone with you tying it off because you can get the hair much cleaner. Because with these bands, I have to kind of secure it myself. It becomes a little bit more difficult. So what we can do now is just clean up this area a little bit. You know, I don't mind a few imperfections, but at the same time, you know, I want it to have a little bit more finish. So I'm just going to use this brush just to kind of clean that. So it's more of a surface brush. Let me turn you this way. And the hairspray. So this will basically just glaze the surface and just give you that cleaner, more polished finish. Hold that, Shane. Like I say, any time you're doing hair ups, you know, hairspray is your best friend. So, you know, use the flexible, don't use the strong, and it will just kind of brush in and brush out quite easily. Okay, so that's a start. Now what we need to do is start working with this area here. So what I'm going to do first of all is get some of my serum. So the smooth serum, remember, like, we don't mind if the hair's looking kind of, you know, super shiny and glossy. So you don't want to treat it like, you know, it's a commercial ponytail, because it's not. It's, you know, it's much more than that. It's supposed to be a bit more editorial, a little bit cooler. So just combing through those ends. Okay, so you can see, just put in a nice glaze of the serum all the way through the hair. Okay, already it's looking nice and shiny, but you can load it a little bit more than that. see quite a bit all the way through. And just twist that all the way into the ends. Okay, now when you've got this, at this point, let me just maybe stand you this way so we can see. Now's when we start to kind of work out what we're going to do with the kind of the knot. So I'm just twisting the hair and easily just, can you see, just placing that with that kind of shine and that texture, and straight away you're starting to get something, you know. So sometimes it can be as simple as just manipulating the hair. Okay, so twisting the hair right the way through. We're going to pull it round. Okay, and at this point here, I'm just going to anchor the hair. So I'm just going to take a grip and I'm just going to put that into the pony just to give me a little bit of a control and a bit of an anchor through there. Okay, then we're going to twist the rest of it right the way through, and then we can decide where we kind of want this hair to end up. Do we want it to come out of the top here? You know, because this is the other thing with these type of looks, is people want them to be visible, so you kind of need to do it on the top of the head, you know, so you can see it. Some people prefer it to be a little bit more discreet. They can drag this kind of down the back and over to the corner. So you're kind of free to kind of do what you want with this hair. I'm just going to gently pull it down into the corner. So we'll just pin that in. And I'll just show you through the back, sorry. So we're kind of creating a little bit of an S bend in that hair on the underneath. Okay. Now I'm just going to fix it in because I've put a few grips in there to hold it, but you can actually take those grips out once it's secure into place. So we'll just turn it all the way around. Again, just checking it through with hairspray and just securing and cleaning up any of these extra pieces of hair that we just want to smooth out. Okay. Oh, haven't got the spray. Okay, so you can see the shape through the back. Let me just turn you around. Okay, so we're just doing a little, you know, kind of a classic sort of vibe, but just with that modern edge, you know, so you've just got this little bit of a detail through there. Once that's kind of secured into place, you know, we can remove any grips that might be visible. Because trust me, it's not going to move. Showing that beautiful sort of fusion. turn to the side. Okay, so you can see where that sits, right on the top of the head there. You've got this little kind of detail that just sort of drags down the back, which just gives it that interest, you know, when she's sort of walking down the runway, or, you know, you've got something happening in the back rather than just a knot. Remember, you can always pull this around and have it kicking out and moving a little bit more. That's kind of down to you. But the key is just to keep it nice and tight, nicely positioned, and super sleek. Now, another little tip I would give you here is to go back in with a little bit of the glamorous oil, and you can lay that on top of this hair just with your hands, just to give it a super, super nice glaze. Remember, like, if it's being photographed and you've got light hitting it, the kind of shinier it is, the better, really. So it just looks much more glam. Okay, so just detailing any little pieces. Okay, so I quite like what's happening, like, with the shape. I think it looks quite, you know, it's kind of classic, but it's got that kind of modern twist to it, you know, and I think this is really important to keep this sort of lifted up into that. So it's got the classic vibe, but, you know, still got that cool girl look. Okay, so let's now address the front. So we can now take these pieces out. Now, we've got a couple of options with these. Again, you know, some people do, like, you could do like little skinny braids, might look quite cool. You know, depends how kind of classic you want to kind of go with it. Personally, I just want to keep it kind of flat, but just with a little bit of movement just through here. So not kind of far away from where Molly's is at the moment. Okay, so we kind of want it to, you know, be careful when you're working into this top bit here that you're not clamping and pulling. You just want to kind of squeeze it a little bit. You know, I just want to create kind of a bit of an unusual kind of vibe, you know, but I don't want it to be too much, but I just want to put a little bit of polish into it. You can see it's kind of just dropping. I don't want it to stick out too much, but I want it to kind of open up from the face a little bit and then have this kind of like this drop and this kind of nice finish through the ends. So we do the same on the other side, a little bit of flexible. Just comb it through. And then we'll just go in, just softly, softly. So you can see I'm just trying to like just glaze the eye and just pick up a little bit more sort of quality in the baseline there. So it's a very, you're almost going underneath, bending it out, and then taking them out and just bending it under, because I don't want it to be a curl. I just want it to have kind of, you know, just a bit of an unusual finish to it, just to give it a bit of an edge. So again, just kind of bending that up a little bit. You know, you can hold it if you want to let it cool, and just pulling that underneath. So you get these really nice finish. So one more time here, just over, bending it away from the face. Hold that for a second. And then we come in with the irons in the base. So you can see again, you've got to think about the balance of where you're lifting the hair away from the eyes. You know, you want it to have a little bit of symmetry there. you don't really want one side to be away here and the other side down there. So, you know, and then kind of just run your fingers through it, because we want it to have a little bit of air in there. We don't want it to be too kind of done. And then just keep working it. And I think this is the key, and a lot of people don't do this, is kind of, you know, work in little pieces at a time. It's quite nice. So you put like a foundation in, and then you can just go in and detail it just by breaking through the texture, and then kind of, you know, going back in and flattening bits out that you want flatter. And again, it just gives you a much more kind of separated, modern feel to it. The only key thing I would kind of say is through this edge here, to try and keep it to curl in on the underneath. I think it just gives you that, like the shape's better rather than it all flicking out, you know what I mean? So just keep working it until you're happy. Until you're happy it's going to hold as well. You know, you need to really heat it up, let that set. We'll leave that to cool. We'll just go into this other side again. Again, just bending it away, hold that, seal it in. Let me get some hairspray in it, get my fingers in it. I think the key as well is to remember, like, you know, you need to be able to run through the hair. Like, you know, you don't want it just to be static. You want it to still have a little bit of movement. You know, you might even want to tuck a little bit behind, maybe. Just turn to the other side. You know, so depending on what you want to do through here, you can kind of break it a little bit. You can pull it all out so it's quite separated. And then again, smooth it down through there, or you can add a little bit of volume. It's kind of over to you really to kind of make it what you want, but I think the key is to kind of use the irons through this bit as opposed to the tong, just to give us that nice little bend through there. You see the way that just kind of drops in now, it's much better. One more bit on this side. So again, as you're working it, you'll kind of find the shape that you want, and you just, you know, don't worry about going back in there, just playing with it a little bit. Okay, final spritz. Again, just, you know, work on these little details, so just keep this nice and sealed. You know, you want to try and remove any fluffy pieces if you can. But I mean, if you've secured it enough like I have with the hairspray, you know, it should be absolutely fine. But just, you know, make sure you use enough hairspray. Remember, you kind of got to trust the hairspray as your friend and not worry about it being too much. It's mad because she looks like totally different, you know, like just by changing the hair, like pulling the hair off of her face, keeping it quite tight here, it totally changes the whole vibe. So what I'm going to do is just let you have a little look at her, then I'm going to change this, take it out and just give her a really messy pony, and I'll show you how quick the kind of hairspray releases from the looks. Let's have a look at some angles. Yeah, nice. You see the shine on it, it looks really beautiful. That nice shape through the back, quite sculpted. Yeah, that looks lovely. It's a really, like, you know, modern yet classic vibe on a ponytail. So taking the ponytail, add in, have a seat again, darling. Add in a little bit of quality to it, twisting it all up, and then kind of giving us that classic shape. Let's change it up. Because we've got a good foundation, we've got a good solid ponytail, I've literally used one grip for this, which is just anchored it right here, and that's it. The rest of it is out, okay? Now you can see what's happening with the ponytail now, because obviously it's full of hairspray. It looks like it would be quite difficult to work with, but it's not, watch. So now I just brush this out using my comb. You just literally just want to work your comb through it just to kind of put the quality back into it. You know, remember that's super tight, like that pony, so it's not going to go anywhere. So I can feel comfortable to be able to move it and release it. Put a little bit of texture into it just by using the wide tooth of the comb. We can kind of pull this up a little bit. Let's get a bit more interest and texture through there. Can you see, like working with those angles again, super important, you know, keeping it looking modern. So we just back comb that a little bit, lift this up, give us a bit more of a playful texture. I think it's quite nice to kind of, you know, hide the band, so I'll probably just take this piece of hair here and just wrap that around the band in order to keep that looking super fresh. Just using a bit of hairspray. Okay, just twist that all the way around, just to seal that off, and then I'm going to use, again, one grip. I can get it open. Just in the bottom there, and just twist that in, push that up, and we've secured that quite easily. Okay, just face the... Okay, so this goes into a bit more of a like kind of 90s vibes, do you know what I mean? With that kind of like high glossy pony with a little bit of texture in there, you know, a nice little break. You've got this kind of quality in the edges, so you can, you know, fuse it. Enough product in there. Just look that way for me. That's it, a bit more. To me, that's it. So if you've got that texture and product in there, you know, you can really manipulate this and kind of break it, add more of a hazier sort of feel to it, or, you know, you can just run your comb through it and kind of polish it out. So again, that's a really quick way just to change it up. You know, the other thing you can do is a kind of a messy top knot. So again, just popping that into there. Again with one grip. You know, you shouldn't, I think the key here is, you know, you kind of shouldn't need too many grips. So even me just kind of sticking that up, you know, it's giving it another edge. It's kind of cool. Now with this, I can use some spray and kind of distress this a little bit more, break it up, get the balance that I want. And it's, you know, it's super simple, but sometimes people are a bit scared of hair up or trying to work with different kind of, you know, editorial or sort of more red carpet vibes, but, you know, it's super easy. And the other thing, which is also quite cool, is to take one side of the hair and actually bring that like out. So you then clear one side and you just have this kind of middle bit hanging out, which is also quite nice. So again, in order to do that, I would just use a little bit of spray my fine tooth comb. And that literally will just pop straight into there. Secure that in. And then we can just clean it up. With some hairspray. Okay, so again, it's all about just playing with it, having some fun with it, and just allowing the fact that you've prepped the hair properly be enough for you to be able to really play, create, and do a variety of different kind of looks. You know, just working with one base, which is your ponytail. So. You can see that's totally like changed the face shape, kind of changed the vibe of it by just tucking that little piece up here. You know, it almost looks even more glam now by taking that one piece away. You know, the next step is you could take the other piece away. You know, you can take this away as well and it becomes super, super strong. But I quite like the fact that it's got that little kind of piece just hanging out. I think it gives it a bit of an edge. So let's stand you up in a second. Okay, so these pins are great just to kind of deconstruct anything and just pin it in, and it will allow you just to create a little bit more shape through that top section there. So you kind of just plug it in, bring it round, and then pin it. Okay, I think we're pretty good now. So she's been on a bit of a journey. We started with, you know, a real classic kind of pony twist, working with a little bit of detail through the back. We then went into kind of your messy pony, and now we're into a messy little top knot, a little bit asymmetric through the front, so it's, you know, got a little bit of a vibe. And I think again, you know, if you've got your pony in the right place, in the first place, it makes everything kind of work. Okay, so just to recap, nice tight pony. Now we're broken into that kind of messy bun. Just put your chin down a bit for me. So in order to try and keep that super tight through there, make sure you put the head forwards as you're putting the ponytail in, and it just eliminates, can you see here the shape? It eliminates this going baggy through the bottom, so it keeps that super tight, which then gives you that angle and that kind of drama. And then again, just with this front section, we've kind of pulled that across and literally with one pin, just pinned it in the front. Okay, play with it now, use your mirror, have a little look. What do you think?
Love it.
It looks cool, huh?
It's good. I love that you can do so many different styles with just the one.
The one foundation, yeah. No, I think, I mean, and the thing is it's got commerciality to it, and it's very easy to do, but it's like I say, you execute it and you've got kind
You can kind of wear it with anything.
Wear it with anything, that's it, and all different angles, so good. Thank you so much, Molly.